Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving Out of Spite. My name is Samantha Sauer, and I'm your host. Today is a very special Awareness Month episode where I was able to sit down with Krystyna Houser. She's one of the co-creators of mBIOTA. After years of battling undiagnosed SIBO and feeling dismissed by the healthcare system, Krystyna decided to take matters into her own hands. Her journey led to the creation of mBIOTA, a better-tasting elemental diet designed with patients in mind. In this conversation, I listened to Krystyna share her personal story and the challenges of getting a proper diagnosis. We talk about why quality of life and treatment matters, the importance of community for those, especially those with GI disorders, and how patient-led solutions can make an everlasting difference. Whether you're navigating SIBO, gastroparesis, or both, or another chronic GI condition, this episode offers hope, practical insight, and a reminder that patient voices matter. Stay tuned.
That's a good thing.
Okay, so hi Krystyna, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to give you a little bit of a chance to introduce yourself to our audience who doesn't know about you, your patient story, or mBIOTA and how it came to be.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Krystyna Houser, founder of mBIOTA, and excited to dive into all of your questions.
Well, I know one of the first things that I find interesting with the most successful patient products and the things that really hit home for me are the products and the organizations that have a base on a patient story, like that it was your experience that really kind of drove this product into existence. Do you mind sharing a little bit about, what your experience was in trying to treat your symptoms and really how this product came to be out of what you were unable to get for yourself and you wanted to make sure that other patients had for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So my saga began after I gave birth to my third child. It was a C-section with a few complications. And as most SIBO patients know that, surgery can contribute to SIBO and other secondary disease states. But I ended up with SIBO as a result of very strong antibiotics, but I didn't know that. So I had a few complications, was sent home, thinking nothing of it. And over the course of a few months, I was developing severe brain fog, nothing similar to pregnancy fog or baby fog. And I wouldn't have explored that further if I wasn't experiencing a lot of bloating. That was one of my primary symptoms. So the bloating, the brain fog, bunch of depression. I developed a few strange rashes on my face. And again, went unexplained for about 2 years. And I kept going to my GP, GI specialist, dermatologist. I mean, you name the specialist and I went to see them and nobody had an answer. So it took 2 years of investigating in the traditional way to be told essentially that it was all in my head, I was crazy, and that I should chalk it all up to postpartum depression and, get over it. And, those who know me would know that line of conversation would just fuel me even further.
Yeah.
And I was determined to figure out the cause. A friend of mine and a facialist actually looked at my skin and said, "This isn't topical, Krystyna. Stop thinking that it's an allergy or something like that. This is internal." And she sent me to her doctor, Dr. Frank Lipman, in New York, and he is an Eastern and Western doctor. He's fantastic. Okay. And I've always been around Eastern medicine. My mother, loved it while I was growing up. And so I'm very comfortable in both spheres, right? I think there's an importance for both.
Definitely.
So I go to see Dr. Lippman, and he takes one look at my eyes and my tongue and said, "You have SIBO." And I looked at him and I never heard of SIBO. And it was either refreshing to hear a diagnosis, but or completely insane. I thought that he was just a lunatic, right? It took 2 years for people to take countless blood tests and not know what's going on. And this guy comes in and 30 seconds later, he has
Yep.
a diagnosis for me. But of course, he was right. And I
Yeah.
went to my GP. I got a breath test done, which is quite easy. And if anyone is struggling with GI disorders and just can't figure it out, I highly recommend it. It's not very expensive. It's easy to do. It's not invasive. So anyway, I got the breath test done. I had SIBO, and my GP told me, well, if you have this strange disorder, there are two doctors in the country that I trust to treat this. And that was Dr. Mark Pimentel and Ali Rezai. And I was fortunate enough to head to California. I was living in New York at the time, and they treated me. And Dr. Rezai ended up being my doctor. And while we were discussing treatment for this, I was so exasperated and irritated that it had at that point taken 2.5 years, I think maybe even 3, of diagnosis, back and forth, wasted time while I was working with 3 kids. I just wanted the most efficient path forward. And I asked him, well, what would you recommend your wife or sister to do? And he looked at me and he said, all right, the best and most effective course of treatment is an elemental diet. Again, something I had never heard of.
Sure.
But the one barrier of entry is taste. And yet again, he challenged me to a taste test and said, this is the most effective path forward, but there's no way you're going to be able to do it. And of course, I took another challenge, and I proved that I was able to do it. Now, the only downside to this very effective path was its taste. It was so horrible. I mean, I remember my husband mixing up a shake for me, and I don't know if you've ever tried one, but it tastes, or the real effective ones. I mean, there are a lot of people out there selling elemental diets, but it's essentially snake oil. It's not fully elemental. It's garbage. There are 2 products, possibly 2.5, that I believe are truly elemental, and I was using the other one. It tastes like rotten milk. It's so disgusting. It's like a synthetic rotten concoction. My husband was making me a shake one day, and just by smelling it, he threw up in the sink. I mean, it was that awful.
That's
and Dr.
miserable.
Rezai had me on it for 3 solid weeks.
Wow.
I mean, it was truly horrific, and I think at times that he was trying to kill me. But he warned me that 1 round of elemental diet would most likely not fix the problem. It usually takes, I don't know, 2 or 3 rounds of an elemental diet.
That's rough.
And I did mine 4 times over the course of 18 months. It was really aggressive, but again, I was over it. I needed to get back to work and participate in my life again. Not being able to go out to restaurants or eat what my kids were eating or travel without worry. I was over it, needed it out of my life, and had to eradicate it, and I did. But every time that I drank one of these shakes, I thought to myself, if this is the best, most effective way to get rid of this disorder, how can it taste so bad? There needs to be another product. And my doctor and I would keep talking about this and sort of joking, like, wouldn't it be great if there was an orange flavor or a vanilla flavor? And at times I would mix mine with Crystal Light. That was allowed, apparently. But still really, really gross.
Barely helped.
Yeah. And so this process led me down a path of like fantasy thinking, really. I never imagined that we would develop a product so effective, that tastes so much better than the competitor, and that would change so many people's lives. But between really getting to R&D of mBIOTA. I published
Mm-hmm.
a cookbook um, uh, based on low fermentation eating, a food plan that
Sure.
Dr. Rizai and Pimentel developed over the course of 20 years. So essentially, um, it's a food plan to transition you off of antibiotics or elemental diets into normal eating again. And
Mm-hmm.
I was on it for 8 months. And I wrote the book really selfishly to keep myself on track and focused. Um, and also to, while I was figuring out recipes, I developed recipes that my kids can enjoy, that I can
Yeah.
enjoy, or friends who came over enjoy. So I wasn't a short order cook and trying to accommodate everyone's needs. There had to be a meal that we could all share and nobody would know or be the wiser that they were on low fermentation eating. So
Yeah.
that was the inspiration for the book. We did that, and I was really taken back by all the women I was meeting who were struggling with juggling how to eat how to eat while having SIBO, how to treat SIBO, how to get diagnosed with SIBO, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had accumulated all of these resources that I just wanted to share. So really, as a result of brainstorming on how I could help and the cookbook, um, I then decided to take a leap and to try to develop the elemental diet with Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Rizai. And again, it was a complete pipe dream. We didn't really think that we'd be able um, to do it, and we did. It was 3 years of R&D.
Wow.
We went back and forth a million times, and ultimately we got lucky with excuse me, a proprietary process and ingredients in our product called ATMT. It's amino acid modification technology, and
Okay.
that is what cracked the code on all of it.
Okay.
Traditionally, elemental diets are comprised, well, they have to be, of mostly amino acids.
Mm-hmm.
Acids taste awful. And so we were able to figure out that mechanism for changing the taste profile, and we ended up with mBIOTA. And it's been amazing ever since. I mean, what drives us is making choices and developing products from a patient perspective. That's what
Mm-hmm.
differentiates us from big pharma or any
Yes.
other large corporation. We're very small, we're nimble, we have an incredibly smart team that I'm impressed by on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And it is that ability to constantly pivot and figure it out. When I first started, my background was project management and real estate. I never had imagined that I would end up in the medical food sphere, but here I
Sure.
am. And it was just a matter of figuring one problem out at a time, from the amino acid taste modification to manufacturing to logistics to overseas sales and tariffs and everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been quite an exciting and fulfilling journey for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Just listening to everything that you've said. And part of the reason that I'm really glad that we're able to have a conversation is because your story is so similar to so many other women just in the GI space in general, where you hear that they come into the office, they have these symptoms, they're talking about it. Years go by without a diagnosis, and they're trying this product and that product and seeing this doctor and seeing that doctor and just suffering the entire time. They might have some good days. I know for myself, you have some good days. It's not always suffering 24/7, but you're not getting answers. And you're asking questions, and the more questions you ask, it almost feels, unless you find the right provider or you hit somebody at just the right time, the more you ask, almost the further back you get. because it's like you're trying to figure things out, and it's just the more you bombard really somebody with all these questions and you're saying, well, what about this? Can I try this? Would this work? It's almost like it sets you back a little bit further, and you still, that diagnosis becomes that pipe dream, right? Of just trying to find something that works. And I've had SIBO on and off for, I don't even know how many years. I've had gastroparesis since I was diagnosed in 2014. And there were times that things were flaring, but they weren't the normal gastroparesis symptoms flares that I would have, where all of a sudden things just got worse and I couldn't figure it out. It turned out to be SIBO almost every single time. It got really bad with the bloating and the pain and the intolerance. It exacerbated like the baseline gastroparesis symptoms that I had. And now, because that's in my history, when I go in with those symptoms, they do tend to take those symptoms a little more seriously, which is great. But I think back, no one ever mentioned an elemental diet to me. Not once. Coming across mBIOTA was the first time I ever heard of an elemental diet as treatment for SIBO. Now we're going like 8 years of knowing what SIBO is and never, just here's an antibiotic treatment and you go on your way. Never heard of it.
I mean, we've come a really long way. Just last year, Dr. Razai was instrumental in making sure that SIBO now has its own disease state. I mean, up until 2024, it didn't even have a disease state number for providers. That's nuts. Mark Pimentel was battling people or debating the existence of SIBO. And now everyone's talking about it. It's hard with secondary disease states, right? Everybody focuses on the primary, but with modern medicine and the poor food quality that we're all ingesting, sadly, we're all experiencing more and more secondary disease states like autoimmune disorders, gastroparesis, GLP-1 use is on the rise. And as you know, that's adding to the gastroparesis numbers.
Yes, unfortunately.
It's difficult post-surgery. Is really difficult too, and lots of patients that have abdominal surgery end up with SIBO. So when you have a secondary disease state, doctors don't really pay attention to those symptoms, but those symptoms of a secondary disease state can be so much more painful sometimes than the primary disease state. So I think doctors are coming around now. There's now a disease code. It's irrefutable. SIBO is a real thing. There were clinical studies, I don't know, since the 1970s supporting elemental use for SIBO and other GI disorders. The problem is, and most doctors never mention this to you because they only learn it in medical school, and they don't prescribe it because of the barrier of taste, and compliance. If patients aren't going to drink the horrible drink, then what's the point of even talking about it until now?
Makes sense.
So we've given doctors another tool in their toolbox to try to treat these mystery illnesses in their minds.
Yeah. And, even thinking about it, like what you said about how horrible the taste was, like you had been through so much that at that point you're like, I don't care that it's bad. I just want to feel better. Like it doesn't, almost essentially, it doesn't matter what I have to do. If this is the thing that I have to get through in order to come out the other side whole and feeling better and feeling more like a human again, it doesn't matter. So it's almost like, while I understand that the taste is a barrier and you don't necessarily want to say, prescribe this to somebody if they're very likely going to take a sip of it and say, nope, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I do understand the thought process there, but it hinders everything, where I would have been in the same position as you. Is I don't care if this is going to fix it. This is what I want to do. I don't care. So it almost is like they're making that choice for you that deems you non-compliant before you even have the chance to say, let me see if this will work for me. So with the product that you guys have developed, it does take that away because it does not taste like how you described the elemental diet that you tried whatsoever, which is wonderful. But it's unfortunate that so many people had to suffer for so long, either thinking or being told it's all in their head, wondering now, is this all in my head? When something relatively simple could have alleviated a lot of those symptoms, or at least given them that chance. And it is true that there are more people now. I see so many people in like our online groups and our support groups talking about SIBO as their secondary issue, asking, has anyone had SIBO before? How do I treat this? What do I do? My doctor's not giving me information. I'm not sure what to do. So from my perspective and, G-PACT's perspective, now we have something that we can say, if we see somebody dealing with this, we know right where to send them for information. We know to say that this is a product that you can talk to your doctor about. You can get the information on the website. And that's something that I didn't have. And I know that a lot of patients either don't have that now because they didn't know where to look because nobody told them, or all the years ago, they didn't have this place to look. They didn't have a product. They just suffered. And when your stomach hurts, when everything, very well that life revolves around food, just like what you were saying with your kids, your family, social events, going out to restaurants, like when you are unable to eat or eat safely or feel maybe comfortable even being around food, that changes so much of your social dynamic, how you feel about yourself, how you feel around other people, how other people feel around you, and it's incredibly isolating. While SIBO and gastroparesis might not be the same thing or always go hand in hand in a person, the impact, I feel like, on what that does to your psyche and what that does on you mentally is so, so, so similar. And it's just refreshing to know that there was somebody out there that said enough is enough. A patient and a doctor kind of came to that same conclusion, like enough is enough. We need to do something about this. And the product that you made was absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank you. And the beauty is that it is so simple. By nature, the product and the protocol allows for your body to heal itself. And that is really the beauty of it. It's not a biologic, it's not an antibiotic, it will do no harm, unless you are a diabetic and you have some insulin spikes. I would not recommend this product because it takes a few days to figure out the pace of how many drinks you have and the timing, and that could be quite complicated for a diabetic patient. But barring that set of the population, you can do no harm. It's the perfect combination of nutrients that your body needs, and it's absorbed in the first 2 feet of your small intestine. And so you're trying to explain this in the most basic form. Essentially, your GI tract is not working, allowing itself to repair, but also to starve all of that bad bacteria that has taken over your intestine. So if that bacteria does not have anything to feed on, i.e. food, then it's going to die. And your body is so sophisticated in that it will repopulate what's good and kill what's bad all on its own if you just let it happen. And that's what we've allowed your body to do.
Yeah. And I know, as myself talking about the diabetic population, that was something with me because I am a type 1 diabetic and I have tried the product. And I know, because I knew about be careful with this, I'm very used to looking at carb ratios for things anyway, like how many carbs, what am I doing? So going into that, I had a plan, right? So for somebody that maybe isn't as comfortable navigating around like their insulin or their blood sugars, or maybe they're having some uncontrolled blood sugars prior to this, you're very correct that I wouldn't recommend, say, just do this. It would be something that you'd really have to sit down and do the diabetic math to calculate, which is what I did. And it works if you preemptively can handle that and kind of have like a plan A, B, and C. But obviously that's a conversation that you have with a doctor that, you know, I wouldn't recommend. That was just my personal experience of, I know that this is here. I know what the sugar is in here. I know what the carbs are, and just to kind of work my body through that, and was able to successfully deal with the spikes and trying to work how much insulin I need and, you know, work through that. So it's, again, from my perspective, it is possible, but I know it's not very much recommended because of the carbs. But, you know, it's just such a mind-boggling thing to me to think about all those years that a product existed, whether it was yours where it tasted good or something else, that it could have made this big difference in my life, where maybe I wouldn't have had as many recurrences of SIBO as I did after you finish the antibiotic, you know, trial that you go on. And having gastroparesis as well, some days it's like, what am I feeling? Which is flaring? Is it the secondary disease state, or is it the first? Which one do I treat? And if there's something as simple essentially as going on a very specific liquid diet for a specific amount of time that could have alleviated essentially both sets of symptoms, looking back on that, like you said, it's very simplistic. It's the answer is almost in beautiful in its simplicity, that could have made a huge difference in the moment when I was dealing with it, and all the future moments that maybe I wouldn't have had to deal with, or would have had less symptoms, or even just been able to kind of say it's this disease state or this, like, which is flaring. The SIBO always flares, the gastroparesis symptoms. And once that starts getting worse, then the SIBO symptoms start getting worse. And then you end up in this really vicious cycle that, minus the gastroparesis, but that you were in too, of just cycling all these symptoms. You try one thing, it flares something else. Then you have the brain fog, then you have the bloating, then the other GI symptoms start setting in, and it leaves you miserable. Is really what it comes down to. It leaves you miserable, frustrated, and it very easily can break your spirit. And I'm just really glad that for you it didn't. But I know that was incredibly hard, especially raising children throughout all of that. Like, I could not imagine the stressor that felt. But, you know, and not to take away from that, but something very beautiful did come out of that, which is wonderful. But you shouldn't have had to go through all of those things in order to get to this space.
Well, I don't know. I'm grateful that I did. I'm grateful that I did, because
I feel that
now other people don't have to.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, our mission at mBIOTA is always, whatever mission or directive we have, it's always from the patient perspective, right?
Yeah.
That's our primary focus, and that will remain so for as long as I'm around.
Yeah. I think besides the fact that the product in itself, I was like, what is this? This is very interesting. Like, could this help me? It's that drive and everything that you just said, your mission of patient first, that this was, you know, worked with patient developed product, that you're not big pharma. You're not, you know, your only allegiance is to the patient, right? And to the people that you want to make feel better. And especially from my personal perspective and with G-PACT, one of those things that we always focus on is what other organizations or products, companies have similar missions, where at the end of the day, it's your people that you want to help. It's the people that matter to you. That is your driving force. It's not money. It's not anything. It's not just building something for the sake of building something, or developing something just because you can, which those things are great. But the driving force is just to help people feel better. And that's something that, you know, we really connect with you guys on. And I'm just really glad that we've been able to make that connection. And really, hopefully this will help other people if they're in a situation like you're in, or like I was, or anybody else in the community, because it's very needed. People need to know that other people care. And the GI community as a whole, I can really only speak for our gastroparesis community, but you feel like nobody cares about you. You know, we've had very little changes in treatment, in medications. You know, research is now just kind of restarting. Things are happening now, but for so long, some of the things that we heard is anything happening? Is anybody going to do anything different for us? We're only stuck on these certain couple medications that may or may not work, or these super invasive treatments that may or may not work. What do we do? And I think it's just a very common thing, especially for women who suffer with GI disorders and conditions in this space, is you just feel very left behind and can feel very uncared about.
Yeah, no, community is so important. And one of the things I'm most proud about mBIOTA and our team is our customer service. And our
Yes.
customer service is, well, I've never encountered anything like that. And that was one of our goals, to have the
Mm-hmm.
best customer service experience of any company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a community. And when people call in and they have questions, we are there for them, and we are patient, as patient as we can be, and try to solve the problem and walk you through it. It's a
Yeah.
really hard ask for to not eat for 14 days. That's
Yeah.
really difficult.
Yeah.
And so sometimes all it takes is a consumer calling and talking to one of our customer service reps and getting a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of inspiration.
Yeah.
Community is everything when you're struggling.
Yeah.
And I just hope that that we can fill that need, at least
Yeah.
in the SIBO community.
Yeah, I definitely, you do have very great customer service. I can also attest to that your team and everyone that I've interacted with has been wonderful. And again, their focus is just on helping people in that community. You can feel that from every person that I've interacted with your team, and just the development behind the product and all of those things. You can really feel that coming from each and every one of you. So I think anybody coming in to just trying something, or just to learn about what you do, your, like, essentially the origin story, your patient story, all of those things, it's very obvious and you can feel that. So I think that anybody listening, anybody new that's like, what is this thing that they're talking about? What is SIBO? All those symptoms sound like me. Like, you guys are a great safe space to go. And I know that you're proud of it, but I just want to say that I do hope that you are, because you've built such a fantastic thing. And I don't get to say that to the people that I like kind of see their products very often. So it's just really great for me to say thank you for everything that you do, to actually see the person, put a face to the name and a story to the name and to the product, and just to say thank you, because it's so needed. And you saw this and you were like, I need to do something about this. And it's just truly incredible. I know I've said that like 5 times, but I really mean it. It's very incredible. And I just can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for the community.
Oh, that's very kind. You're going to make me cry.
It's okay. I've cried on here before myself already. So
Thank you. No, it's very kind. Yeah, it really, I take this, and we all do at mBIOTA, we take it very seriously.
yeah.
Research is the cornerstone of everything that we do, clinically proven. We are the only clinically proven, apart from one other competitor, we are the only clinically proven elemental diet on the market.
Okay.
That's not just borrowing science from other clinical trials.
Sure.
Competitor C, who has no clinical trials, claims that his product is proven, but it's never been actually proven with his product.
Interesting.
So I think that there are a lot of buzzwords at the moment, and clinically proven is one of them. I would urge that your listeners and consumers really think about that and look into it. Like, yes, vitamin D has been proven in certain applications, but does this product have it, or whatever the example is, right? Like,
Sure.
do your research, figure out if the product itself has been clinically proven, and that it's not just borrowed from other random clinical trials that have nothing to do with the product itself. So you really need to investigate. And what I want people to understand with mBIOTA is that you never have to question that with us.
Mm-hmm.
We will tell you the truth. We will tell you that 14 days on a liquid diet is really, really difficult, but it's worth
Yeah.
doing. We will not lie to you. Our product is real, rooted in science. Our
Mm-hmm.
team is built on integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope that our consumers and your listeners really see that in our company. It means a lot to us. We're up all night worried about your symptoms and trying to figure
Yeah.
out how to make the patient experience a little easier.
Yeah.
So it's just quality of life, right? It's what my
100%.
team and I are always discussing every week. It's, yes, we're not going to cure these disorders, these diseases, but how can we improve the process for the patient, even if it's, the daily check-ins or
Mm-hmm.
checklists, or how are we going to make your quality of life better with a better tasting product? It's this
Sure.
big range on the spectrum, but we are always thinking about the patient's quality of life.
Yeah. And that's something that you wouldn't think would be so missed in these areas, but I think is really not always focused on is that, even myself, where I was years ago at probably the worst I was, with all of my illnesses all just coming crashing down at the same time, where I had very little quality of life. Like I was alive, I was surviving, but I was in absolutely no way thriving at all. And when you are sick, and I do understand, like, you have that acute phase and you have that chronic phase in every disease state, right? Where there's a moment where it doesn't matter about the quality of life. You just want to keep the patient alive. You want to get them from A to B. Like that does happen. And I understand that. But once you're outside of that, that quality of life is so important, because if you are not mentally telling yourself that you can do this, or that you are feeling good about the process that you are on, or with the team that you have, or the decisions that are made for you, if your quality of life is suffering, if your mental state around your quality of life is suffering, then I don't know how anyone can expect you to heal from that, because that's not a healing environment. So when that is one of the primary focuses of the product, the medical team, etc., like that's how people heal. That's how people come out of it. It doesn't cure it. It doesn't fix everything, but it has more of a chance and the ability to give somebody at least partially some of their life back, obviously dependent on the disease state. But I think about that with myself, like all those years ago, where it took me getting to that space to be able to get to this one. And it was because I had people that did care about my quality of life, that they did say, we want you to be able to run again. We want to get you out exercising. We want to get you out to where you can be. We want to get you at least eating enough that you can live within some sort of normal realm, right? It's not going to cure you, but it'll get you to a better position. And if that hadn't been the focus, I might not be where I am today. So I think just really wanting to allow us not to just sit here and survive, but really be people in the world again, to be participants in our own lives, in our own world, and really saying that you matter, and that what you need and what you want and what you want to get out of the world matters, is a big deal. And again, you're focusing on that to say, let's get them not just from A to B, but let's get them out into the world where they are thriving again. And it's just, again, you don't hear that very often. So it's just very refreshing.
Well, I think that you are an inspiration in the GI world as well. And I
Oh, thank
think,
you.
what you're doing in community building is just so needed. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, thank you. One thing I did want to ask you, because we were talking about community, do you guys have a like virtual community at all, or Facebook group, anything like that? If somebody is interested in your products beyond the website and like directly with customer service, do they have other patients or any space? All things SIBO all the time, right? And mBIOTA thing, anything like that. Do you have a space online that patients could join that we can tell them about?
Yes. Well, we I primarily and am on Instagram,
Hmm.
but our handle, God, I'm so bad at these things, is Elemental Diet.
Hmm.
You can also find us on our website, mbiota.com, which will direct you to all the channels that we
Hmm.
have. So
Okay.
yes, we do have, we are trying to build out our community more and more, and thinking through how to implement um, monthly and weekly support groups for people. We're
Okay.
that is sort of in the brainstorming phase right now, but I hope that we'll be implementing that shortly because I know
Yeah.
it's really needed. But yes, I think the best resource is to go to our website and check out our resources.
Okay. I will make sure to include that in the caption for anybody that wants to go check that out. Um, Great. Thank you so much for this today. I really appreciate you just being so open and sharing your story with us and again to create this great product. So thank you again.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.